6 Eastern, you know where to go. Here we are, Florida State Seminoles live right here at the Voice of College Football. On one side, George, the Renegade Report, and James joining us from fairly big game. Viva, yes.
Las Vegas.
Don't let me break out into that one because I'm liable to. But yes, James joining us from the Super Bowl. And you've been out there since Sunday, James. How's it been?
It was cold. It was wet. But now it's just cold and dry. It's a lot prettier when there's no rain involved, but like it's crazy convenient to how everything is. And in Vegas, the stadium and the Sphere are really two spectacles that you do want to see. Like they are, it's definitely worth it, especially the Sphere. That's kind of weird, but it's like it's something different like every minute. Like it's not the same thing, but I've had a good time. I'm ready to come home, but I got to grind it out. I got a few more days before I have to get back to. I'm gonna be traveling again, so I'm actually taking a vacation for the first time in quite some time. Even though I'm still going to record and work, but I'll be out of the country next Monday.
Jet set, and you can't hide money, Mark. You can't hide it, man. They call him Big Game James for a reason, though.
That's it.
It's access. It's when you know. It's all about who you know. And it's all about who knows you in this world. Luckily, I have enough people that claim me that it makes my life a little easier.
Well, Florida State gets to claim Amaree Williams officially today. Folks, this is National Signing Day, if you didn't recognize that. I don't know when we're going to get that officially changed because it probably just should be because it's no longer that. But there are a few stragglers out there and a few come into the fold. But for Amaree Williams, we knew that commitment was a done deal, but it becomes official today. I'm looking at the hard commit and the signing here. Top 10 athlete in that category, top 20-25 player in the state of Florida, James.
Yeah, he's very good. He was the number one overall athlete in class of 2025 before he reclassified. So he was a 5-star, similar to what happened with Blunt. FSU fans obviously know we had Blunt, defensive end, edge rusher. Both of them were 16 years old. We got him to reclassify, did the work. He decides that he wants to go to the University of Miami. He flips on National Signing Day. But once those rumors started getting kind of around, Florida State went for another kid in the Amaree who we were looking at, got him to do what it was necessary to get him to reclassify, get him here early. And it's just another defensive end that you're just going to be able to get into the place. He's got great frame, great size. His dad played, if I remember correctly, he was running back at UK. He was a good athlete. And he's a guy who's going to come in, and we have no idea what he's going to look like in 2 years because he's still 16. And he was dominating at that age. So he was a tight end, defensive end. So now, but I think we're primarily bringing him in as a D end. And he's a guy that we'll basically be able to hide, get him working out, get him training. 2 years he should be a name that Florida State fans are going to be able to recognize. As I call one of those jersey guys, a guy whose jersey you want to be able to get.
His dad's Mo Williams. I watched a lot of Mo Williams, both at Kentucky and with the Vikings. Heck yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was the old running back for UK.
Starting. Start feeling old. You're like, oh, yeah, I remember this guy. His daddy was such and such. And then you're like, oh, man, that's crazy that I remember that guy.
His daddy was in college after I was. That's how old I am. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I feel young because, bam, that was before my time of watching him on TV. So I feel young for a change here, but no, like James mentioned, he was a 5-star, the number one athlete in the 2025 class. He flips over. I believe he's the number 6 athlete in the 2024 class. It's still a high 4-star, but kind of the difference in him and the guy that flipped, Armando Blunt, the kid that flipped back to Miami. Blunt, it was kind of like known for a long time he was going to reclassify. He reclassified with plenty of time, kind of things changed. He was able to climb the ranks up a little bit more, but make no mistake, there's no, lack of athleticism. Amaree Williams has every bit of potential. And the thing people talk about is his size. It's a little bit of projection. He has big hands, wide shoulders, so they think he'll fill out weight. But also when you look at 6'4", 215, you're thinking that in terms of a senior. So like James was talking about, he's a year ahead. So like, yeah, he's 6'4", 215, but you're talking about a 16-year-old kid, would usually be a junior. So I have no doubts by the time, you get a redshirt freshman year under his belt, he'll be able to get up to 230, 240, like the staff is going to want him to be an absolute beast at defensive end. I've heard people talk about him possibly playing offense as a freshman because he's such an athlete, just to get him on the field. And if you watch his highlight tape, it's that part that sticks out. I think, Mark, the first time you've seen his stats, like you were asking, is this guy a tight end or what? That's like his more impressive stats, as far as his time in varsity football. But make no mistake, he's going to be one of these Brian Burge types. That's what they're hoping, to get him off the edge and rip and ran. And he's the type of athlete that people have been wanting. Is he young? Yeah, fine. You may not get, his best years. Bobby Hart is a guy that came in at 16 years old at Florida State. His best years were probably with the Giants. But you still got out of him a couple good years, and he's an old people remember for a long time. So hoping the same with Amaree Williams. Get him in here and get him to work.
The Benjamin School, James, are you familiar?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
FSU fans, we should like the Benjamin School. That's where Jordan Travis came from. We've also had a tight end that was pretty damn good that came from there as well. It's one of those really good affluent schools in South Florida that great education, puts out some really good players, and I think he's they're polished. One of the things that's changing for good and bad about the sport is that it's just as much about how well trained you are than how good of an elite athlete you are. And so when you've got a dad who's obviously been there, you can afford the extra training. Like, your 16 is different than 16, 20 years ago. So while if we have to play him, we're in a really bad position, so I don't think we will, but he'll get an opportunity to be able to redshirt. His body next year will come into effect and be a way better player than what we actually anticipated him to be. It's just different when you've been exposed to things that everybody else hasn't, because you can afford to have done that with your parents.
Absolutely. His team went 8-3 this past year at Benjamin School, racked up 34 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, a couple forced fumbles, and a pick. As George mentioned, on the offensive side as a tight end, 16 passes received, 7 touchdowns, had a bigger 22, but I'm guessing maybe some opponents didn't know about him, didn't get as much attention. 15 sacks and 40 tackles the year before as a sophomore.
Yep, that's what I was going to say. His sophomore year was probably a lot better. But again, once people start knowing who you are, and now you have to adjust to double teams, you have to adjust to the attention that comes with it. And honestly, God's truth, just the crazy nature of the way that high school is covered now. I remember saying some things like back in the day that I didn't understand how forward thinking it was, but like now it's strange how true it is. I said what pro sports was 10 years ago. I would say it's 10 years is when everything bumps down.
Yeah.
What pro sports was 10 years ago, college sports is now. But what college sports was 10 years ago, high school sports is, and so on, the trickle down effect. And with the invention of internet, I joked and said there are kids. Actually, the first person I talked about it was the tight end who ended up he's a quarterback and went to Auburn. It's gonna come to me in a minute, but now he's at Louisville as a tight end right now. It'll come to me. But anyways, he had like 25,000 followers and a blue check mark as a junior in high school, and I'm like, you haven't made a play in college yet. But the amount of coverage that these young men are getting it's wild. So I wouldn't even say it had anything to do with his skill set. It just takes a lot to go from to have everything being so critical, and you have this newfound fame and stardom that it's difficult for everybody to even realize, even the people who've been through it. He's got more press right now probably than his dad had playing pro. So it's a difficult thing. I get a chance to see it with a lot of the young men that I mentor and train. It's just it's crazy how they can be successful with all eyes on them like that.
Yeah, we'd have to go back and look at the roster, but who knows? Maybe he had a couple monster seniors on that line that other people worried about, and getting those double teams back there when he burst on the scene as a sophomore. Now you're that guy, and he's going to skip that senior year. He's going to go straight to the big league. So can't wait to get him on campus for sure.
I know it's not Florida State related, but George, you mentioned the situation with Kirk Herbstreit and Dylan Raiola, who originally committed to Ohio State, committed to Georgia, did another flip to Nebraska, and has signed at Nebraska, and did that in December. He's a legacy to Nebraska. His let's see if I get this straight. His dad played there. His uncle is an offensive line coach there. And if I screwed that up, Nebraska fans, in regards to who's who, please forgive me. And but there's a whole backstory about him flipping.
Yeah, well, like you said, there's all kind of things tying him to Nebraska. But the kid pretty much moved to Beaufort, Georgia. It's obviously a big time school. It's kind of like the IMG of Georgia. But the whole idea is he goes there, he plays with KJ Bolden, these different guys who at the time were supposed to go to Georgia when that move was made, all these things. But long story short, whenever it came in the news that that he was considering flipping to Nebraska, the story that I read, and I wish I'll try to figure it out maybe before the show is over since we brought it up. But yeah, there's an article out there quoting his father in an article basically saying, just as soon as it got in the news, Kirk Herbstreit got on the horn and called me and was recruiting us to Nebraska, saying, yeah, absolutely. You got to do that, basically, is the quote. You got to do that, is what Kirk Herbstreit said. And, it's just funny, the kind of tampering things that go on. And go ahead, James.
Oh no, I just had the article up, what you were reading. But he basically said when he saw the smoke about Dylan entertaining Nebraska, he called me, said, "Dude, is this true? He's got to do it. He's got to do it." And for a guy like that to tell me and get behind me, I knew he needed to do it. But I wasn't going to sit here and say you need to go change that place or be a part of the change at that place. But it's amazing that. The influence that obviously Kirk Herbstreit would have without any previous relationship. If this, one of the things that was so funny, back in the day with recruiting, I remember one time I took a kid. Actually, I went to a game and there was a young man, I'll say his name, Jawanza Starling, from out of Tallahassee Lincoln, ended up going to USC, but he was at a Florida State game. I have known Jawanza Starling and his family, his dad, Pete, in the hood, in the original neighborhood that I grew up in. His dad, we used to call him Blockbuster. He was a hood Blockbuster video. He was the first person that had the 2 VHSs. He would take it and he would literally copy.
Not the double.
You get 3 movies. You have 3 movies on 1 VHS. You pay him $1, he'll give it to you, and then you go through
Back
that.
in the days, man.
His sister was best friends with my little sister when they were coming up in that neighborhood. So I knew Jawanza before Jawanza even knew how to wipe his own butt. I see his dad at a game, so quite naturally, I'm like, hey, man, you come here with me. Let's go into the varsity club. They find this out. They're like, oh, my God, you can't do that. That's considered enticing a recruit. I said, man, I've known this dude, Jawanza, before he can speak English. And they're like, oh, okay, well, you had a pre-established relationship. Well, it's just crazy. There is no pre-established relationship. The only reason Kirk knows who this kid is because the kid is an All-American and a 5-star. And the only reason, and you did not say, hey, here's why I think it's the best thing. Matt Rule is this, but even then, nobody asked you for your advice. You literally are leveraging who you are, knowing that that's going to be some kind of influence, which is part of why Kirk Herbstreit is getting roasted and has been getting roasted since the first week of fucking December. You've been we know what the influence is, and you're gaslighting and acting like you don't know that you're Kirk Herbstreit and that you're one of the most, you're synonymous with college football Saturdays. You've been doing this for years. So for you to call a dad and tell him to do this literally is come on, bro. If you didn't know that, you're very, very naive, which he has been claiming naivety for quite some time on some other topics. But you're asking to give, it's almost at a point where I know you're getting paid for the Twitter things, but it's almost like, are you getting that much of another check from Elon and them on Twitter that you're asking to get this kind of abuse that you're getting on social media, because that's all this is. That's all this is asking.
So let me line up all my questions about this. And I don't know that you guys are going to be able to answer them because the article's sitting right in front of me now. And so I know about as much as you guys do. Number one would be, why is Kirk Herbstreit pointing to Nebraska? What's the big allure at Nebraska? And as James mentioned, the only thing I can see there is about Matt Rule. He's a special leader. So if he's that much of a believer in Matt Rule, I've never heard Kirk Herbstreit that I can remember, and I watch a lot of college football, make any kind of comments about Matt Rule being anything special. But he's the head coach at Nebraska, and he's done some good things at Temple and Baylor. So that's point number one. Point number two would be, I would have an issue with this if we could make a connection between Kirk Herbstreit benefiting from this or Kirk Herbstreit shifting the powers of college football in a way that would be obvious to, okay, he's favoring this school, this conference, there's a tie to ESPN. But if anything, Nebraska is a Big Ten school. They're a Fox, CBS, NBC property. Why would he be doing that?
Absolutely. But, as we've kind of found out and what we saw the whole thing in the playoff, that was the big thing. ESPN knows that they're going to have to work together with these guys. ABC knows they're going to have to work with Fox on this 12-team playoff. It's going to that NFL model. Okay, you've already seen them announce a streaming service that they're doing together. They are sitting down and they're working out how they're going to work this 12-team playoff. And you're right. Right now, as we sit, we haven't done the research. We don't know what the connection is, what benefit Kirk Herbstreit has outside of it being viral and him making money on Twitter interactions. And it's funny, the guy just met it. But the thing is, and it's what it keeps going back, and we just saw this Dartmouth lawsuit that just got won by those boys. We've got USC about to lose one. If Dylan Raiola was an employee, if he had signed some kind of legally binding contract to be an employee of Georgia, yada, yada, and something this came like, then guess what? Then there's court ramifications. Then you could, have it. You could bring it to court, get discovery, find out if there was foul play. So everything kind of comes back to that. But yeah, outside of that, it's just it's really, really, it's stuff that makes you really, really dislike someone. And it's just hilarious to see. But I'm curious to hear everybody else's opinion. What's up, Chris?
Chris is here. Spear Addicts. Chris, what's going on?
Just working.
Just working. You do a little work here and there?
I do a little playing here and there.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. Well, we've talked some Amaree Williams. I don't know if you've got anything to add there. Obviously, we already knew that was a done deal, but made it official with National Signing Day.
I think it's funny that the big media that covers Florida State decided to release that he signed back in December, when that's partially true. What does that mean exactly? I just think it's funny that how people try to get clicks off of these kids. Amaree and his mom and his dad, the whole complete story behind what they've done to get to the manner of where their family is, not just him, but where they are as a family, is the story that should have been written, not that this kid signed back in December. And like it's I think that media sometimes gets so lost in what they think is the best story for them instead of telling the story of the young man and its family, because those are the things that matter. Yeah, it's great that he's part of the Florida State football team. It's great that he decided to come to Florida State. And all of that's great, but we knew that when he signed. Like, that's summed up right there. You don't need to know when he signed. It doesn't matter if he signed in December, if he signed that day off the yacht. That portion doesn't matter. But it's like, oh, let me flex a little bit and show that I knew this happened. You know what I mean? Like, it's just an asshole move. But when there's a huge picture to their story of why he wanted to be at Florida State, the reason that Florida State was the top of his list, the reason that Papuchis and Odell Hagens and Mike Norvell and Fuller were a huge reason why he wanted to come be a Nole. and why his mom said that Florida State felt more like a family that would take care of her son than the other schools. The big story where his pop said, "Look, it was just different. The reason that it was different is because Mike was the same." He goes, it goes back to scripture, but and a lot of people in football are in faith that he said Mike was the same yesterday as he's going to be today as he will be tomorrow. That's what we respected the most about Coach Norvell. And then they go on to the deeper stuff, but we was more worried about, we knew he signed in December. It's asinine to me. But love Amaree. His family's great. Can't wait to have him on the show. Can't wait to talk to his mom and his dad on the show as well. So we'll let them tell their story instead of someone else writing what they think is the story.
So yeah, we'll be looking forward to that. Can you give us a sneak peek? So it sounds like it's a pretty special journey to this point that we're talking about.
Yeah, I would imagine it's going to be probably next month sometime because I've got DJ's or Big Dave, which is DJ U's dad. I've got Marvin Jones Jr. I've got like 4 or 5 of their parents that are coming on to talk about their sons first. And then the plan is to have them each individual, like Big Dave and DJ U, come on together, and then have Marvin and Marvin Jones Jr. come on together. So I'm trying to show what the parents see from the outside looking in. Some of them being former players themselves at Florida State, like Marvin Jones Sr. And then we just had Matt Fryer on, which is Camden's dad. He was on with Kalen DeLoach's dad, which is Rob. And then now the way we're going to set up is I'll have Camden and Matt Fryer on together. Then I'm going to have Marvin Jones and Marvin Jones Jr. on, then so on and so on down the list. And then I'll get to Amaree and his family when they're ready and settled in. But it'll be the next few months will be a lot of fun.
We've got Chris with that all-star lineup. We got James at the Super Bowl, who's always hobnobbing with all the big wigs around the NFL and college football, wherever he goes. And then we got George, whose channel's exploding, and these three still have time to show up here at the Voice of College Football every Wednesday. How about that?
That's right.
All right.
Yeah, right now, if my eyes are wandering, it's because it's random people here on Radio Row. So if I have to jump off, that means I got a really cool interview right now. So, but
okay,
I think we're good though. You
do what you need to do. Do what you need to do. Chris, did you hear about this Kirk Herbstreit connection with the Nebraska quarterback signee Dylan Raiola and him pointing him in that direction?
I'll say that what I do know is I've got a nice video coming out about all of that really soon. Kirk Herbstreit's on maybe all Florida State fans' crap list, but he's at the top of mine always and always will be. Like, even some of our own fan bases, like, y'all need to let go what Kirk Herbstreit said, or let go if y'all didn't make it. I'm never going to let it go. I don't have to. It's my God-given right to say, fuck that. I'm going to excuse my language. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
But I did a video not too long ago about where Kirk Herbstreit trolling us again when everything was died down on our side. We were leaving him alone, and then he decided to come at us. So the whole thing with Raiola, look, Kirk is feeling himself a little bit too much. I wish people realized, just, and no offense, I know he went to Ohio State, but just how piss poor of a quarterback he was. He started the 92-93 season, had 1,900 and something yards in totality. He had 4 passing touchdowns that entire season. It's a joke. He wasn't good at the game, so he talks about it. He wants to consider himself an expert, but he won't debate anybody that knows the game. He won't talk to anybody that knows the game. And he'll even call universities, or he'll call the NCAA, or he'll call and see if his lawyers can get someone in trouble based off of a video that they did. I think it's funny because you made yourself a public figure, and as long as I'm not threatening you, or not me, hypothetically, as long as no one's threatening you, you can't do nothing about it. So Kirk Herbstreit's he's a coward. He's got 2 guard dogs, guiding dogs, whatever they are. Like, I think Kirk might be going blind because of all the Botox he's put in his cheeks. I don't know. But I have no love lost with Kirk Herbstreit whatsoever. So no matter what he does, it's going to be evil in my eyes.
So is that more about the call to snub Florida State, saying that they weren't one of the 4 best teams in the country, or everything that led up to that in terms of him building a narrative and his network building a narrative to get him to that point?
It's the fact that he won't stand on what he said himself. My issue with Kirk Herbstreit is weeks prior to Jordan Travis getting hurt, which is the reason that he stands on that Florida State was no longer one of the 4 best teams because their quarterback wasn't there. He started the analogy prior to that saying that Florida State being one of the 4 best teams was debatable. He never said that about Washington. They played plenty of close games. They, in his eyes, Texas and Alabama deserved to be in over Florida State. Both had 1 loss. And that was prior to Jordan Travis ever getting hurt. But what he wants you to do is completely forget everything that he said before Jordan got hurt and just stand in the paint that Jordan got hurt. The problem is you were pushing that before Jordan ever got hurt. You were saying that our offense was stagnant. You were saying that Jordan's not playing the way that he was last year. Jordan didn't run enough, etc. So the whole build-up, he's trying to cover up the BS that he said before Jordan got hurt, because that's the only real merit that he has to stand on, which is BS, but at least there is that. But Kirk Herbstreit's he's a do boy. He does what ESPN wants him to do. He plays devil advocate to whatever situation it may be. They made him the bad guy, and I think he was too ignorant. He's not even as smart as Hulk Hogan. Like, Hulk Hogan wouldn't give up his belt. He's like, no, it's not time for me not to be the champion. I'm gonna keep the belt. I'm just not gonna show up. Stone Cold Steve Austin did the same thing, and I'm not a wrestling fan, but I love watching biographies of people and all that good stuff, documentaries. So Kirk Herbstreit's documentary, if it ever comes out, it's just he's going to be a coward, and he was a do boy. He did what he was told at all times. So what?
Well, maybe I would.
One of the things that
ESPN if I did that. Go ahead, James.
No, I was saying one of the things that, I remember, again, going back to my nerd days, I took a class in high school by Dr. Edward Rotuno, who was a professor at Florida State, the speech and debate. One of the first things he ever made me do in speech and debate, it made me very uncomfortable, but it also made me learn how to actually properly engage in the debate, is we took topics, and the topic then was I had to make a case against affirmative action. So I, the black kid, who I guess innately understood more about what it is and some of the things. I had to debate it, and I asked him, at the time I was like, I don't want to do this. He said, how can you know something if you can't argue the other side of it? He's like, you don't even know what points they're going to come up with, so you don't even know how to attack it. But if you really, really know something, you can argue both sides of something. And so that's why I always tell people, like, these guys don't get me wrong, they're not rocket scientists, but they have an understanding of what's done. And I've seen it. Like, there's no way Stephen A. Smith believes some of the things that come out of his mouth. He's just a really good debater. And it's debate radio, debate TV. When we look at what we see on social media, it's no intelligent debate. It's basically people yelling with their thumbs. And we're taking the guys from what we see on TV and what we see on ESPN. So what he did was it's engagement, even with the Florida State thing. Nobody had brought up Kirk Herbstreit en masse in quite some time. And then he just had to say something, and then you throw a rock and then hide your hand. Like, Florida State wasn't coming for Herbstreit. Herbstreit said something, and then now you have this Dylan Raiola thing, and it's just kind of like you're throwing your muscle around, and then that this is what happens sometimes when you get caught. But Kirk is interesting, and that's kind of. But it's wild when you're iconic in the manner in college football in which he is, and what he, Lee Corso, Fowler, what these guys have built over the last 20, 30 years. There is absolutely no reason for them to take unless there's this is how conspiracy theories are formed. It's because there is really no reason based upon what their record is and what they have, the power they have, for them to take the shots that they do, but yet they do take the shots that they do. So I know this. Kirk is going to have an interesting time in Dublin. If they don't kind of rope off that section, if they do college game day like they normally do, there's no way that it's not going to be very raucous.
Yeah, we had a fan call in saying that last year they had him like inside the stadium, like, and it was empty. So I don't know what the deal is that if he's going to actually hide from us, but I just have this picture of roasted tomatoes like in the cartoons where they splat and all that good stuff. But we'll see. He definitely needs to get a piece of our mind, and kind of what you were asking, Chris, about where does the source of the angst come in? It's all that stuff. But he acts like aloof, like, oh, I was just doing what the four best. But if you go back and watch that program, I mean, the way he said it, they're like, who is it? And it's like, I'll say it. I'm not scared. It's not Florida State. It's Bama. That's who should be in. It's Bama. Like, he knew the whole time. And going back to what Chris said, yes, that college game day segment before UNA, before Travis ever got hurt, they did a 30-minute segment, all of them standing there laughing, and Kirk was banging the table for Bama or Texas, whoever else, to get in, and Florida State should be out. The big thing, they wrapped it around the conference. The ACC should be left out. So yeah, the narrative's been around, and now what really pisses me off now, why it keeps going, he keeps coming back, and like Chris said, also he won't debate nobody intelligent. That's all he does. He retweets people with 100 followers and following 3,000. 6,000. He won't come on somebody's show, have an intelligent conversation, actually debate both sides of it. He's just playing the political 101. Oh, anybody who's against me is lunatic fringe. And I love all the good. I love the Bobby Bowden, those teams. I love those 80 teams and stuff. So, Florida State fans, there's no love lost. There never will be. But yeah, it makes you wonder if he's done it all for attention or what. But he's got some attention from Florida State fans, and it's not going away. And I can only hope that UGA fans blow this Raiola thing out of proportion.
Anybody who's watching live, or if you're watching the taped version and you've got any kind of pull with anyone of that caliber, let them know I'm here to debate anyone at any time. Not that I'm going to make up a debate, but I am here to debate at all costs. And when James was talking about the motivation for debates, for me, it's simply whether, if I truly believe in a cause, if I truly believe that I am doing justice to a cause, a player, a coach, whatever the narrative. Or what typically happens is I've got fans, they call me, that are on just extreme ends of the spectrum, that don't understand that the truth is usually somewhere in here. And so I take on the argument, as James was talking about, I take on the argument of the other side, the other team, not because I fully believe in it, but because I'm trying to pull them to somewhere where I believe truth and facts lie, because they're off, because they're a Michigan fan or they're an Ohio State fan, or shoot, if you listen to most of my videos and live streams, you wouldn't know I'm an Ohio State fan, because I have bashed them across the face in a number of ways, because I talk to Ohio State fans who are ridiculous. And so I try to pull them back to reason and logic. But yes, Kirk Herbstreit, please come on the show.
And I think that he will. And the problem is, again, one thing I've always said, if I really feel it, when I know I've said, I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I'm not going to keep arguing with you about all this stuff, especially on social media where there is no way to.
Yes.
How do you win? Like, what do you win? So, like, right now, if I saw Kirk here on Radio Row and we had a debate, we had a talk, I would say, Kirk, listen, dog. why are you bringing this up? You're not going to change anybody in Florida State's mind. I can promise you that. Shut up. Just let it die and it'll go. When I know you're locked in and I'm locked into a point, cool. We're moving on to something else. I'm not going to keep going around in circles using, and this is not even an arrogant thing as much as I don't have the time. I'm not going to use my platform to give you credence. And the funniest thing about all of this, dating back to December, when I first tweeted out and called him out, he didn't block me. He hasn't blocked me, nor has he responded to mine. I was like, you are responding to the guy with 60 followers that is saying the most outrageous thing, Kirk. I was like, that's a hit dog. In the South, we say hit dog gonna holler. Like that means you don't really believe what you, because if you said what you said, you stand on your perch. I said what I said, and now I'm moving on. Florida, and I can, you know what? I might not like it. I don't have to agree with it, but I can respect it. Period. Florida State's not the best team. You state your 4 reasons and you keep moving. But when your 4 reasons keep changing and it's shaky and it's
like a guilty conscience, ain't it?
Right. It's you're opening your, again, the biggest thing is, why did you even need to bring up Florida State? Like, now you bring it up. Now they're going to talk about your dog. Now they're going to talk about this. They're going to talk about this. And now you're going to go try to get sympathy tweets. You're going to try to do all these different things. When it's not like no Florida State fan just came at you. You were literally, you poked a hornet's nest and are wondering why you're getting stung. And that's just, to me, that's just the wildest. It's a very unmasculine trait. Like, I know Kirk's better than that. And that's my whole thought process behind it. But I do know Florida, just for whatever reason, we, in our fan base too, is not sensitive, or I don't want to say it's soft, but we do tend to overreact when people feel slighted. But when you gaslight them, all it's doing is going to make them, and I really hate that term, but this is textbook gaslighting. Like, you're going to make them continue to jump down your throat. And at this point, I can only say that he likes this, because it would annoy me. Even when I say something that's somewhat controversial, I just push the mute button and then go about my life. Like, that's the craziest thing about Twitter. It's not like IG. Like, Instagram, you post that picture, and unless you delete that thing off of Instagram, you got to see it every day. Twitter and Facebook, all you got to do is push mute. And you ain't got to ever worry about that thread again or any of that stuff.
I can tell everybody where the downhill started. Unfortunately, Lee Corso's health went south over the past couple of years. Now there's no one there to keep this boy in check, because that's what Lee Corso did, whether people want to believe that or not. The intelligent conversations that Lee Corso and Kirk Herbstreit had off the camera kept Kirk in check. It gave him an analogy and an understanding of, you just don't poke certain places. You know, you keep your hands to yourself, which his words are his hands. And you went and typically you tried to fill up some Florida State fans, and they got pissed off. They snapped back. And your dogs are fair game because you keep putting them on your shit. Like, look, I'm going to be petty because I want your attention now. Why do I want his attention? Because all of the stupid shit that gets said gets his attention. All of the intelligent stuff that gets said, he completely just I didn't see that. I didn't see that one. My post on Twitter's got 40-something thousand views on it because of intelligent context of what he said. You won't reply to that. But someone goes and writes what the pettiness that I put out, and he responds to them because they've got 74 followers. I said the exact same thing. He saw it. He was tagged in it. I know he saw it. He doesn't want to argue with anybody because he has no argument. His bases have no merit because all he's doing is changing. He's like a damn gecko that changes their colors to whatever they're touching. And that's what he's doing. I expect nothing different. I mean, you wear that much makeup every Saturday. I get it. You're a dude. It makes you feel some type of way.
All right, folks. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Comments and questions are welcome there. We've got a few more minutes. And we got James at the Super Bowl, and appreciate James taking time out of his busy schedule to join us from Vegas. James, what's going on this week? Den Media, the whole deal.
Yeah, a lot of people were wondering if I was alive. I haven't even tweeted as much as I normally tweet, but I got so much. I need a content manager. I have so much stuff that I don't know what's cool to post up and what's not. But we should have some Monday opening night days. I got a chance to interview Juice, the fullback, which is part of the reason why I want San Francisco to win. A cool little 3.5-minute interview, even how it came down. I told people there was only 2 things that I just needed to get, one of which I couldn't because shout out to Derek Nandi. He's on injury reserve, so he wasn't available for interviews. But I would have loved to have gotten him. You know, he doesn't know what it's like. I think he's only not been in 1 Super Bowl in his career. So, you know, just the success, talking to him, we did that great. I really like that. But when I got Juice, we talked about Taylor Swift. We talked about being a fullback. We talked about a lot of different things of that nature. So that should be coming up. We did George's show yesterday, so we got some clips, and my cameraman has done some things. So be some cool behind-the-scenes stuff. I would do my show, Big Game, my actual show, Big Games BS. Will be right on after you. I'm at 7, so if anybody wants to tune into that or catch the rebrawl, we'll be doing that from Radio Row while I have everything set up. But like tomorrow, I'm doing Red Carpet, Sports Illustrated Golf. Then we're doing, I'm getting, for people who would have been all-in members, if you would have been in Vegas, you get to go to the Celebrity Gifting Suite, which is just me and my camera guy. So we're going to the Celebrity Gifting Suite. Then I have rapper Little Boosie. For those who will be doing that. I'm trying to figure out if I want it live or not, but we're going to do the interview. And then we've got a bunch of other people that are coming on as well. Different parties, different after parties. But the NFL the Super Bowl is a great experience. But we're also about, I think, 700 away, maybe a little, 690 away from 6,000. So we're trying to get to 6,000 subs. Please consider doing that. You know, once we get to 6,000, we'll have 3 cash giveaways that we'll be doing, and appreciate everybody with the support. So it's cold. I'm glad the sun is shining. Hopefully it'll warm up a little bit. But outside of that, Vegas is Vegas.
Did I hear that right? You said you have Lil Boosie coming on the Den Media Group?
Yes. I'm going to ask him. I'm probably going to try to interview him in his rap lyrics.
Let's go.
He's a popular underground.
In the South, he's a legend.
There's a lot of people that are popular. I don't know who they are.
Yeah,
you'll spell that out. I'll look them up.
I'm also going for Reba McEntire, though. I'm really trying to get an interview with Reba McEntire. I'm a big Reba McEntire fan.
Stop it.
People do not know this, but I love her TV show.
My really likes Reba McEntire. I think she seems like a really nice person. I can't say that I love her music or anything, but yeah. She had a nice little, funny little, quirky little sitcom for a while. All right. Insane Mob. With all due respect, I'm not going to set up some special debate with you or something. You want to debate something with me. I'm the most accessible person on YouTube. I'm like on all the time. Give me a call. Debate whatever you want to debate. All right. Chris, what's going on at Spear Addicts?
Just a lot of interviews coming up. I don't know how many people I'm away from 6,000. I don't keep up with it like my 2 gentlemen to the side of me. I wished I did. James gets really close to me, and then I gotta pull whatever I can pull to get people to subscribe so I can continue to grow, because he scares me every once in a while. As much as I'm not in competition with that, it's a competitive nature. I don't know what he's doing. Like I don't know what he's doing. He keeps getting people to subscribe, and I'm just like, wait a minute. I was doing really good for a while. I was getting 100 and something people a month, and then all of a sudden it died, and then his kept going, and I'm like, what the hell happened? So I had to pull out a whole email list just to surpass it one more time. But I'm out of ammunition. So if he passes me this time, it's over. But no, I tell everybody, and I truly mean that. Just like this channel, if you subscribe to my channel, you subscribe to the other three. Like it, I don't know why you wouldn't. It doesn't make any sense not to. I get on here as much as I can. Every time James allows me to come on his show, I'm more than grateful. Because while I love being a host of a show, I like being asked questions or interviewed more. It's more fun for me. I don't have to worry about all the outer stuff. But got a lot of stuff coming up for Tour of Duty on tomorrow's show. Here's the funny thing: 247 on 3. All those people, they don't have none of this information. I don't know if people have noticed or not, but media has been kind of held out. Like, we're not allowing people to do shit that they're not supposed to do anymore. But when you talk to the people that do Tour of Duty, you get to talk about it. So I've got a lot of information coming out on tomorrow's episode. And then this weekend, I hope to have 3 or 4 of those interviews done. And I'll start releasing those this weekend. Just growing. Like, I mean, it's the off season, but if you truly want to know what's going on at Florida State, you watch these shows no matter what part of the season it is, on season, off season, spring. That shouldn't matter. But other than that, man, just creating a network of people that I didn't think was ever going to be possible. Bringing on certain people. I've got 2 Noles that are coming on the show that are in the NFL. 2013 national title champions. So I'm excited about that. That's going to be either at the end of this month or the beginning of next month that both of them are coming on at the same time. That one will probably get me a few thousand subscribers. So I'm good. But we'll just see what happens.
Renegade Report.
Yeah, like Chris said, man, just staying busy. I've been on. Chris has been on the show a couple times. James has been on the show a couple times. We all got to do James's show. I've got to do Chris's a couple times. Just having a lot of fun. Jen's been with me about 3 months now. We're working on 2,100 subscribers. We've been lucky to interview a ton of awesome people. We've got Tony Altimore coming on this Friday, so that'll be our next show. I just had a guy, the head coach of Reading, Pennsylvania High School, Coach Gaudinay. He was great. Really got into some of kind of like what it's like from a high school head coach's perspective, dealing with NIL and this recruiting state. So just staying busy. It's Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Even though it's kind of slow, there's not a ton of information out there. Just keeping everybody updated on the very latest and keeping things growing. Those guys are way ahead of me, but I'm trying to slowly but surely catch up to all y'all. And like Chris was saying, it's if somebody subscribed to my channel, they might as well be subscribed to Voice of College Football, Spear Addicts, 10 Media Group, all the same. All kinds of cool stuff. Y'all go check out my Carlos Williams interview. We had Brian McFadden on. We've had Zach Smith in the past. We had DJ U's father. That people really love that one. We were the first people to have him on, like kind of after DJ U committed. So all kinds of fun stuff. But it kind of all started here. Kind of the thing that hurried and got me on camera was I agreed to do the post game show for this season, and that made me hurry up and get my podcast going in time. And I think this podcast here was maybe the very first one we ever did as kind of a dress rehearsal for that. So, it's kind of come full circle. So just prodding along and trying to get better. It's these slow times in the off season. I feel like it's just you just evolve and do everything you can to possibly get every tiny view you can. That way, when the season gets back around here, when we get to the spring game, it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got a pretty big community built up.
Folks, we can benefit your business here at the Voice of College Football in a number of ways. So hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. In addition to a number of conventional things that you would think of in terms of how we could partner with you, there's a lot of other ways in which we can get the word out on your service, your product, your own personal platform and brand, whatever it is for you. MarkRogersTV at Gmail. Hit me up right there. Chris, appreciate you making the time. As always, I know that you're running around a million miles an hour. So thanks for making the time. George, you as well. Appreciate you being here. You guys make this go for us.
Appreciate you having me.
Next
Every
Wednesday,
day,
folks,
every
6
week,
p.m.
baby.
Eastern. And what's the next show for each one of you? Because we want to send everybody from right here to
Spear Addicts is tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Friday. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I thought you was going to go ahead and tell, but yeah, I was just going to say mine's Friday at 7 Eastern. Yeah.
there we go. We're all
With
lined
Tony
up.
Altimore.
Chris, Spear Addicts, Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, Friday at 7. George and special guest Tony Altimore on the Renegade Report. Okay, guys, thanks so much. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Go Knowles, baby.